Over to you, Gaurav.
Namo Siddhanam. Jai Jain to everyone. All of us have gathered here to mark completion of 20 years for jainheritagecenters.com. I welcome all the speakers and participants to the session. I also request everyone to be on mute for the entire duration of the session, except the speakers. Let's start the session by paying our respect to Tirthankars. I would like to invite Srimati K.P. Sudha Devi from Bangalore for a Mangalacharya. Sudha Aunty.
Jai Jinendra.
One moment.
Jai Jinendra. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Airyanam, Namo Vajjayanam, Namo Loye Savasahunam. Manamohana Sri Jinanatana Gunanamagala Kirtana Idaranubhava Bahu Pavana. Manamohana Sri Jinanatana Parama Pavana Radha Arahantara Smarisalo Balu Shuddha Shri Siddhara Parama Pavana Radha Arahantara Smarisalo Balu Shuddha Shri Siddhara Ati Bhikara Bhavasagara Dada Sera Nalidadu Lidu Adhara Manamohana Sri Jinanatana Gunana Magala Kirtana Idaranubhava Bahu Pavana. Charita Punitaro Acharyara Guru Upadhyaya Shri Yativaryara Charita Punitaro Acharyara Guru Upadhyaya Shri Yativaryara Dinanityadi Manashuddhadi Smarisi Padalo Baba Bayanashana Manamohana Sri Jinanatana Gunana Magala Kirtana Idaranubhava Bahu Pavana. Asi Avu Sayamba Modalakshara Kushaladi Sukaviva Panchakshara Asiyavu Sayamba Modalakshara Kushaladi Sukaviva Panchakshara Bhavani Gisi Sukaserisi Chira Shanti Yenu Seralidu Adara Manamohana Sri Jinanatana Gunana Magala Kirtana Idaranubhava Bahu Pavana Idaranubhava Bahu Pavana. Jai Jinendra.
Jai Jain. jainheritagecenters.com website was founded in May 2002 on this very day, that is 20 years ago. And it has grown into a very popular Jain portal, which aimed at collecting and presenting vast data related to Jainism, Jain heritage. And it is not only for one particular area or region, it is prevalent across the globe. It desires to unravel the known, unknown relics of Jainism. Currently, Jain Heritage Centers has more than 8,000 images and north of 3,000 pages of research information on Jainism and Jain Heritage Centers collated over last 20 years. And currently the website is ranked for over 3,500 Jainism related keywords. It has publication related to Jain heritage, temples, basadis, archaeology, epigraphy, rituals, Jain way of life, Jain events, puja mahotsavs, folklore, and whatnot. Even in many projects, Jain Heritage was also involved into heritage conservation. Some documentaries, especially I would like to mention Korean and Slovakian, they were very unique. I think the very first one from the Jain perspective. Jain Heritage Series projects and Jain Archaeology Pavilions and other multiple events which they have hosted over time to time. Jain Heritage Center has been founded by father and son duo Dr. H.A. Parashnath and Nitin H.P. All of us know about them. They are the force behind the success of this knowledge repository. Dr. H.A. Parashnath is a doctor by profession. He's an actor, critic, Jain scholar, and a Kannada activist, and he's based out of Mysore. Nitin is a marketing technology specialist, and he's also a Guinness World Record holder for world's largest photo sculpture. He is a heritage enthusiast and conservator and currently based out of Bengaluru. We'll be celebrating Jain Heritage Festival 2022 with 20 plus unique sessions on Jainism over next 10 weeks. That is 20 days if we count Saturdays and Sundays like that. And we learn about Jainism's antiquity, inscriptions, art, folklore, dramatics, Yakshan, Prakrit, and heritage through 35 plus speakers from across the globe. And the talks will be spread over English, Kannada, Hindi. It will be a Jain feast that everyone should attend. Today is the inaugural session by renowned international Jain scholar Naduja Dr. Hampana through his talk on Puri Kyal's Jin Vallabha inscription. We also have Dr. Alok Tripathi, Additional Director General of Archaeology Survey of India, as our guest of honor for today, and RP Uncle for welcome address. I would like to invite Sahu R.P. Jain uncle for a welcome note. Just a few words about him. I think most of us are well aware of him. Uh, Sahu R.P. Jain is an avid speaker, a power to learn from. We call him a Jain activist, a path pradarshak for us. He always remained close to our hearts. R.P. uncle has dedicated his life to bring Jainism to the next generation and contribute in numerous Jain causes from behind the curtain, I should say. I always remember his words he mentioned to me about 17 years ago. Die a better Jain than you were born to be. Over to you, uncle.
Jai Janendra, everybody, and also Namaskar. From Delhi, I address the globe. I am very delighted to have Professor Alok Tripathi, a pioneer in marine archaeology, that is underwater archaeology, who now is the Additional Director General of Archaeological Survey of India. A very, very warm welcome to you, sir. I also recognize and welcome a Doyen of Jain Archaeology, History and Heritage, Professor Hampana Nagarajaya. I have known him for last over 30 years, and he has been doing a great work on Jain history and heritage. So these two professors, and I'm very, very delighted to have my old friend, Sri Nemu Chandaria Saab from Institute of Genealogy, London, who is with us. And I cherish his friendship for last over 30 years. It was because of him that I became the coordinator of the Jain delegation to the World Parliament of Religion Centennial in Chicago in 1893. Sir, all of you and the participants, besides Nitin Bhai and his parents, very, very warm welcome to each one of you. Suswagatam. Jai Janendra. Over to Nitin Gauravji.
Thank you, RP uncle. For the keynote address, I would like to invite Nitin HP. He is an inspiration for all young Jains and our own one-man army. I always call him like that. He is the founder and executive director of jainheritagecenters.com. Whatever I say will be less for Nitin owing to his vast knowledge, expertise, and more than anything, his passion for Jain heritage. Over to you.
Namo Siddhanam. Jai Janendra, everyone. Thank you, Garovji, for letting me do the keynote address. I think respected Nadoja Acharya, Dr. Hampana sir, Dr. Alok Tripathi sir from the Archaeological Survey of India, and my father, Dr. H.A. Parshvanath, and RP uncle, whom we look up to, a person who is dedicated his Jain towards the propagation of Jainism outside India, and then respected Nemu Chandaria sir, Sulaik uncle from the team at Jaina there, my dear friend Yogesh, who has always been the backbone for us for our technical work and any other advice, Ajit Prasad sir, and Mahavir Kumar sir, Kamini Madan madam, and Narendra Bandari sir, Narendra Parson sir, Pravati Ranji madam, and others whoever are, and also Usha Rani madam, Vasant Mala madam, and Dr. Jaychandra sir, and everyone. I think for me, like when it comes to Jain Heritage Centers, I mean, before just to give a bit of background for people who are watching us for the first time, Jain Heritage Centers, how did we start? It was way back in 1999, 2000, 2001, when we started. When I was doing my graduation, my engineering. That was the time when I got my computers and I was researching a bit about multiple aspects of technology along with my studies, and also about Jainism and Indian religions and other aspects. That's when I felt not much of details about Jain temples, history and heritage has been there, and particularly even the basic news about many historic events, could be our Mahamastaka Abhishekas or even Panchakalyanas, are being projected well on internet, is what I felt. That's when I told my father that we need to start something like this. Probably I don't know what other parents would have done. My father said, yes, please go ahead, let's do it. It's something related to our history, heritage and technology and religion and philosophy, plus over and above that it's related to technology. Let's do something. I think that's how we all started. And later on, I'll not get into much of details about what was the journey. Just to summarize quickly, like after that, we started working on multiple aspects. It all started about giving some basic information about the heritage sites and Jain places of interest. Then a bit of news. Then over the years, it continued. In 2004, when the first, that was one of the major involvement when the attack on Jain Munis at Tamil Nadu happened. We started relaying the news. That's when we even felt people started responding. We also started Jaina Voice and all other Jaina Voice as a monthly newsletter. So people started responding. That's when we really felt, yes, we are really making an impact. Then 2006 Mahamastaka Abhisheka was another major event. We got ourselves involved thanks to Charakirti Swamiji. And then we continued on multiple instances. Then in 2013, one of the other major incident happened at the attack on a Jain monk at Girnar. We worked on towards relaying all the information about Jainism, about the activities at Girnar, and ours served as a central hub. Later on in 2016, we had the Sallekana movement, where we tried to get involved with a group of scholars who worked on the stay order with the Supreme Court of India. Then the 2018 Mahamastaka Abhisheka again was another major event where we started working on multiple aspects of the Mahamastaka Abhisheka. We also worked with the Digambar Jain Mahasabha and Tirtha Samrakshini Mahasabha, trying to put together a vast pavilion about Jain heritage and archaeology. And again, I should say it was again I should say I was blessed to have Hampana sir all throughout this journey, right from the day when we started the website, and later on he used to come and mentor us whenever we go. He was there with us in our 10th anniversary. He was the chairman of our Mahamastaka Abhisheka exhibition, Jain Archaeology Pavilion. Under his guidance and leadership, we did it. Then he also was the main person who graced the occasion in 2019. No, sorry, our 19th anniversary, that too in 2021. And now we have him again. I think this is something we should always be proud of, to have a person like Hampana sir, whom we always look up to as an Acharya. I think it's our pleasure to have him. Along with that, So in between, we also started getting into more of research into the inscriptions and other aspects. Again, thanks to Hampana sir and my friends, Ravi Kumar Navalgunda and my father, who helped me get into that again, and they guided me. So that is how it all went. At the same time, we also have been a platform to unearth information about unknown Jain heritage sites, Jain inscriptions, and also publishing unknown and new inscriptions. That is how we have been continuing to do. But having said all this, when all this is happening, like I said, in 99 2000, we were at a stage wherein not much of information about Jainism was seen on internet. That's when we started the website. At the same time, like I said, time and again, we have been responsive to multiple aspects of developments of Jainism, and we also have been responding to the technological changes, where we upgraded our website from a very basic HTML site technically to a CMS. I mean, more of the IT guys, they will be able to appreciate this fact, and this all continued. At the same time, what we also saw is in the past 2 to 3 years, we have seen, or maybe with the internet being made more accessible, and with the onset of smartphones, and what is happening is, and also the corona thing, what happened, people started getting onto online live sessions through Zoom, and also people started developing their own Facebook pages, and started writing on Twitter, the microblogging platform. But in spite of all this, what happened was, always when you get a power is always double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword, is what I always feel. I think that is also happening in our Jaina aspects as well. What has happened over the years is, particularly, we have seen the surge of lot of internet scholars. When I say internet scholars, it means people, they just Google something, they pick up something on Facebook, they pick up something on Twitter, they pick up something that comes on WhatsApp, and they just come and collate the details and put it. They just sit in some corner of the world, or within the four walls of a room, and they do it. There is no field work that happens, which is primarily required for any research work, particularly the history and heritage aspects. They don't refer any of the authentic works that are available. No Epigraphia Karnataka, Epigraphia Indica, no South India inscriptions, no reference to any of our agamic work. They don't do anything of this sort. They're just a copy-paste people, and they do it, and they post it. This is what I mean by internet scholars. I'm not telling it is, their interest is good, but what that comes out as an output from them is also equally matters. And I'll give you two small examples that has come to me very recently over the past 2 years. Two people, they run their own Facebook page and an Instagram account. We all know about the Badami, Aihole, and Pattadkal, the World Heritage Sites. And Aihole, these are the heritage sites in Karnataka. And in Aihole, we have a very ancient Jain temple and a lot of inscriptions. We have ancient Jain heritage there. One person writes, Aihole was subjected to the onslaught of Mughal rulers. Mughals never came to Aihole at all. This person is distorting the history. This is a Jain heritage site. It's a World Heritage Site where you have rich Jain heritage along with the rest of the Indian heritage. A person says, Mughals came down to this place. This is what it is. This is how the history is distorted. One more person, we all know about the very popular Bukkaraya inscription of the 1360s and 1370s, 70s and 80s, 70s, which is seen at Shravanabelagola and also at a place called Kalya in Karnataka, very close to the state capital, Bangalore. This is somewhere related to 14th century inscription, like I said. You know what people are telling on internet, and people who are running these accounts, they say Instead of Bukkaraya, they call it as Bukhariya inscription. And they say it belongs to 8th to 10th century AD. These are two small instances which I wanted to quote here to let you know, just to let the people know where we need to open our eyes and see before we read through any of these literature that comes through internet. The history has been distorted. And particularly the Jain history, like I said, the literature of Jainism and Jain history is very scant on the internet, and the distorted history further works against the cause rather than helping the cause. And there are many such things, so which somewhere been working over here over the past 15-20 years, and also have grown in a literary and cultural background family, somewhere it hurted me. It pricked my mind very badly. What is this? What's happening? The Jain history and heritage is getting distorted completely. Where are we heading towards? That's when we started thinking, thanks to, I should say, COVID, wherein people started getting more close to many things. We started off with some webinars in collaboration with the Madras University. Thanks to Dr. Pedarshna Madam, we conducted about 7 to 8 different webinars there. It's about 2 years back. Last year, we started, soon after our anniversary, we did around 8 to 10 webinars on different aspects of Jain history, heritage, and archaeology, including the ones about by Madam Renuka Porwal Madam about Kankali Tila, one of the oldest archaeological sources of the Jaina worship. So when all this was happening, at the same time, I even started looking some of the other aspects other than the archaeological aspects, which are still a part of Jain heritage. We say Jain heritage means it's not just about history, heritage, and inscriptions. It also is about folklore, about your own rituals. Rituals, we have a legacy. It's a heritage that has come over the centuries to us, or from our forefathers, from our ancestors. What is happening? There is hardly any information that is available about all this. Everyone are just they just copy and paste it on internet. Okay, good, but there is no authenticity of a lot of literature that gets onto internet. That is when we felt we need to do something more than what we have been doing. And apart from what we had been doing earlier, that's when we started with the webinars. And this time we said, let's try to drive people's attention for over a span of 8 to 10 weeks by constantly reinforcing the message. You would have seen our posters of our inaugural session. You would have seen our messages in Kannada and English, our posters in Kannada and English. And at the same time, one other thing that we have seen is there's a lot of different kind of misconceptions, barriers and biases that we see in the society. For example, South Indian versus a North Indian, South Indian Jain versus a North Indian Jain, Digambar versus a Shwetambar, a Jain scholar versus a non-Jain scholar who is working on Jainism, an Indian scholar versus a foreign scholar, a person who is doing elsewhere. Means to say, there's a lot of these biases. In Kannada we say Kupa Manduk, a frog. For a frog, a well is its world. But when the frog comes out of the well, it knows how vast the world is all about. That is something I think we Jains should look up to. When it comes to our research or anything, we should be open to accepting thoughts, scholars from across the world. And also, like when I happen to read about Dr. Alok Tripathi sir's work, though I haven't been in much touch with him, I have been reading a lot about his works. Like R.P. Uncle said, he's a doyen in the field of marine archaeology. He's one of the topmost scholars in the world right now in the field of marine archaeology. And when it comes to Hampana sir, like I mentioned, we always look up to him like an acharya. He's the acharya, like in a Muni Sangha, you have acharyas who lead the Muni Sangha or the ascetic order. Likewise, we have Hampana sir, who is our acharya, who always guides us, all youngsters. He always says, you youngsters should come to the forefront. And he always pats us back and he recognizes us and gives us opportunities. In spite of all this, what's happening? we are still there with those barriers. So that's when I felt we need to start something more than that. That's the whole idea behind starting this Jain Heritage Festival. Right now, this year, we have started this as a virtual event. This will, the way how we have structured this out, we will have 9 different themes. Gaurav has already mentioned antiquity of Jainism, and then Jainism abroad. It's not just about Jainism abroad, means it doesn't mean just about the temples there. What is happening on the academic side of it? We have Sulaik Uncle who will open our eyes. The tremendous work he's been doing over the past 4 decades. We have Nemu Chandaria sir, who's done a tremendous work in terms of cataloging the work of Jaina manuscripts. We have a lot of work that has happened. Folklore. Forget outside India, even within India, people do not know much about Jaina folklore. We have Jaychandra sir, we have SP Padma Prasad sir, who will open our eyes. And we have youngsters. And we have many people who are behind who are just doing their work without coming out. We have persons like Rishabh Kumar, we have persons like Nagaraj Navalgun. Then when it comes to inscriptional work, like I said, Hampana sir is an all-rounder. He works on all the fields. Along with that, we have Devarkonda Reddy sir. We have many other scholars who are doing a tremendous work in the field of Jain history, heritage, and archaeology, who have done and who have been doing and will continue to do, whether or not the community recognizes. But we as a community should try to get the best out of them. For example, when it comes to rituals, I'll tell you, we speak about Bhaktamar Vidhan, we speak about Navagra Vidhan, we speak about every Vidhan. And when a Vidhan is being, or an Aradhana is being set up at our house, when our kids, my daughter or someone's son asks, why do we need to do this? Nobody has an answer. क्यों करना है? याक माडबेको? They say our ancestors are doing, Bhagwan hai, karna hai. There is a logic behind that. We say Jainism is a scientific religion. There is a science behind that. Why is that? That is where you will learn about in the Jain rituals. And what are the kind of different rituals? There are different rituals that are seen in Karnataka, in North India, maybe even in Karnataka along the coastal belt and the central Karnataka and even the North Karnataka, and everywhere we see a lot of things. We see a different kind of Jain rituals in Tamil Nadu. But we need to connect these dots. That is when it becomes a heritage, which has to get unearthed to the external world. And over and above this, we also have Prakrit. We speak about Prakrit. We know Prakrit is being taught as in some of the universities, but beyond that, among the common men, the knowledge is very less. Over and above this, we have a lot of challenges that are hunting a Jain community. There are multiple challenges. So all these aspects, somewhere we wanted to have it in a platform where we bring in people from different languages. We have people speaking, like I said, youngsters, unknown people, so who have done tremendous research. We have well-known scholars like Hampana sir, who is going to set the ball rolling today through his lecture. And we have Kannadigas, non-Kannadigas. We have people from outside India. We have Sulaik Uncle. We have Nemu Chandaria sir. We have people working in different parts of the world. All of them will come over. We want them. We want to bring out the heritage among the common men. So that is the whole intent of starting this Jain Heritage Festival. Hopefully very soon, in the coming years, we might be able to do it as an annual event and do it as an offline event where we get to meet and greet everyone. Nothing can beat our offline events. The personal touch we have is very different. So considering all these aspects, that's how we started with the Jain Heritage Festival this time for over 10 weeks. And we look forward for all your active involvements. And even after this is not the end of the world. That will also continue with lectures later on. But this is a 10-week program, which is like a very focused program. In addition to this will not stop here. We had 8 lectures last year. We have around 35 to 40 lectures in the Heritage Festival. It will continue for a few more. Because of all this, what happens? One is something goes on YouTube. Yes, we are getting it from authentic people from different parts of the world based on their research. everything is based on research, everything is based on facts. But apart from YouTube, this should also be there as part of the published publications. That's why we plan to collate all these articles, all these lectures in the form of book. 8 lectures we had last year, 40 lectures we will have this time, and a few more, maybe around 45 to 50 lectures, a good volume of around 300 to 400 pages, focusing on different aspects of Jain history, heritage, and archaeology will continue. And as we move on every year, probably we might want to do it, and we will definitely want to come up with volumes year on year, and want to create that centralized repository, authentic work where they have directly spoken here. That is the whole idea of starting off with this. I'll not take much time. I think we are waiting for to hear words from Alok Tripathi sir and also from Hampana sir. And with this, I'll make way for my friend Gaurav Jain to take over. Thank you. Jai Jinendra.
I wish this journey continues, Nitin. It's a great responsibility and a mammoth task, I should say, to collate, distribute, share authentic information on various Jain subjects. Jain Heritage Center is doing a great job in validating this information through Jain as well as non-Jain, or I should say Indian history scholars and researchers. So I think we need to move forward in the way that you have planned for it. Kudos to your work and your hard work. Thank you. Further, it gives me immense pleasure to invite our guest of honor for today, Dr. Alok Tripathi. Professor Dr. Alok Tripathi is a distinguished archaeologist and a pioneer in underwater archaeology in India. He founded the Underwater Archaeology Wing in the Archaeological Survey of India and has directed several underwater archaeological excavations in the Arabian Sea as well as in the Bay of Bengal. He has worked in several countries in Asia, Africa, and European regions. He's an author and editor of 17 books. He holds equal authority in museology, art history, heritage management, art, architecture, remote sensing, and law. He's only social scientist listed among 10 brightest young scientists in the country. Since 2009, he's a professor at Assam University, Silchar, and presently he works as the Additional Director General of the Archaeological Survey of India. Over to you, Dr. Tripathi, for your address.
Namaskar to everyone. I really feel very honored, and what my previous speaker has told about so many activities, I was even educated. Friends, when I learn about the Jain Heritage Center and its activities, I was really very happy that this group of enthusiastic and dedicated persons from diverse groups are working in the direction of protection, conservation of heritage, particularly about conservation and awareness. That gives us a lot of happiness, because we as a professional body do it as a job. But when persons from public, they come forward and work in this direction, we really feel that heritage is going to be preserved for entirety. I'll not speak much about, I'm really happy that scholars like Dr. Hampa and is there. I would also like to listen him and learn from him. We have read his books and his works, which have educated us. And all those who are here, they have so much devotion and dedication to heritage, art, architecture, epigraphs, traditions, literature, which is definitely going not only to preserve our heritage, but also to spread it. To very small point, which I would like to touch. We all have been working in the field of heritage, and these studies were started by some British officers. Those who started, they were not professional historians, they were not professional archaeologists, they were not philosophers, They were not experts of literature. Some of them were judges, some was a mint master or some other civil servant or a military servant, military officers. And one thing, let me tell you, friends, though they have done a lot of work, they have discovered many heritage sites, but one thing we should never lose our sight, their basic interest was not to discover the history of India or reconstruct the history of India. They were doing it for their own benefit and with their perception. And that is very important. So all these Western scholars have written history of India. But we Indians need to know Itihas of Bharat or Itihas of India. So we should try to learn, we should try to understand Itihas. Let history be where it is. Now you may wonder what is the difference in Itihas and history. There is a big difference. History is not Itihas, Itihas is not history. So history is a very small fraction of Itihas. Itihas itself is a definition, as you know, Itihas, what indeed has happened. And it doesn't matter whether it is written or non-written. Whether it is verbal, it is in memory, or even we do not know anything about it, but it's Itihas. Whereas history has a mandatory requirement that written record has to be there. And when you go to the written records, now it depends who was writing, for what purpose, what perception he had, what was his objective to write it. So you never know that. And you can never understand what was real Itihas, means what was Itihas from written document. They may support, they may help. So we should understand that we need to learn our Itihas. So we should not be, so much get influenced by this so-called written history. And that has happened during last few centuries. One thing, this is particularly to you all. I have said it in some other Jain forums also. Jain Dharma has great teachings. It has many great jinns, but there's a word term, Jainism, we have to think of. Is it ism? Definitely not. Jain Dharma is not an ism. It's a great dharma. It's a great philosophy. It's a great way of life, great teachings. These Europeans called every Indian thing as ism, be it Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, Shaktism, Vaishnavism. If you go to dictionary, it is not our language. English is not our language. We could not understand. They wrote in English, we blindly followed it. And to our great religions, we call ism. And if you see what ism means in dictionary, you will understand. Some examples I can give. Terrorism, communalism, they are all ism. So we put our great religion, again, it's not a religion, it's a dharma. Dharma and religion are two very different things. So our great dharma, we ourselves call it ism, because we never understood this language. So friends, this is my request to all. We should understand Jain Dharma एक महान धर्म है, एक महान philosophy है. We must not call it ism. So that is one thing which I can request all of you. Please don't call it Jainism. Call it whatever language, in our Kannada, in Tamil, in Hindi, in Sanskrit. whatever true term is there for this panth or for this philosophy or for this dharma, write that. I call it Jain dharma, Hindu dharma, Buddha dharma, Sikh dharma. It's a dharma. Why do we call it ism? Let them write. That's why I say let them write history. We are not bothered about it. We should learn our itihas. So let them write Jainism. But we in India, we Indians, we Jain, why we write Jainism? We will write Jain dharma or whatever is the best term or whatever terms has been used in our ancient literature, in our tradition. We should not change it. Let we write in English, but we write our dharma as our dharma. So just I'll request you that we, all those who are associated with this great work, which all of you are doing through this website, through your center. I was reading that Jain Heritage Center is working. So all those who are working in this field, let us understand these things. We should not blindly copy what others have written. So we should go back to our root. We should go back to our traditions. We should go back to our literature and see what those great munis, those sant, they have written about this dharma. And we use those terms. So we call them the same thing. Because English, they will write anything. They had no idea of Indian culture. So for them, Jain Tirthankara will be a nude person standing or sitting. So they written because they had no idea that what this whole thing is. So they described what they felt. Let them do what they did. But we know, and we should write in our own way. So that is what one very small thing I'll say on any forum. This term Jainism, please think about it. I'm not saying, means what I feel, I'm sharing with you. All of you should try to understand. So when you use a term, because terminology is very important. So there was certain deliberate attempt to put certain things in a particular way. Now we should realize what was the intention behind many things. And once we understand them, we should try to correct them. And it's not what I say, it's not what anybody else say. It is every one of you should think. And what you feel is right, do that without getting influenced by these earlier scholars or earlier works or anything. So we should have our independent thinking. We should analyze in our own way. Because we should have, when I said we, I'm talking about Indians. We Indians should have our perception, our tradition, our language, our culture. And language play a very important role. Our literature is in different languages. Unless you understand that language, you will never realize and understand the real meaning of it. If you read translations, if you read English writings, you will never feel the real essence of what our great teachers have told. So my only simple point is we should stop looking things from others' perception. We should start looking to all these heritage from our point of view. And there are words, Jain heritage. I will say it is not Jain heritage. It's a human heritage. It belongs to the entire world. Why we put it in a small way? I won't say even we call it Indian heritage. This heritage is a human heritage. Whole world should know about it. Whole world should proud on it. And they should preserve it. And we should spread it all over the world. Because it cannot be put under the compartments either as a Jain, Hindu, Buddhist, Indian, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Punjab, Bengal. No, this is all human heritage. And these are the great teaching which will make a big impact for every human being around the globe. So we should have proud on that. We should look from our point of view, and we should try to understand. My only point, this only point which I want to make it, that let us have a proud on our heritage. We should never feel, means if you go by many of the reading, means early writings and all, you feel somewhere you are put down. But we should have proud in our heritage. We should try to understand it. We should spread it to others for the benefit of entire humanity. So I'm really, really delighted that I got this occasion to have an interaction with such a dedicated team, which is doing a wonderful job towards preservation of heritage, understanding and spreading it, the real message, what these great Tirthankaras had given us or told us long, long back. So now this is a very good opportunity, and this website for last 20 years is doing this dedicated job. On this Foundation Day, I really congratulate everyone who is associated with this work. I'll be happy if I can be of any help in this field, because I am also associated with the heritage. So together we work for the protection of our heritage and to make all the people aware about its importance. So with this, I convey my greetings to all. And this is my humble request that we analyze things in our own way, and then we have a great future ahead, and we should move ahead with that. Namaskar.
Thanks, Dr. Tripathi, for the encouraging words and also sharing your experience from a very different perspective. I think all of us need to introspect and think about it. You said it rightly. And you also showed us a way forward. So I hope that we also contribute to this. Moving further, I would like to invite our dear uncle Hampana. Dr. Hampa has served in capacities like Professor, Dean of Arts, faculty in Bangalore University. He also officiated as Director of Jain Research Center, Director of Institute of Jain Studies, Director of Department of Kannada and Culture in Government of Karnataka before retiring in 1996. He also served as the Honorary Secretary of Kannada Literary Chair called Kannada Sahitya Parishad from 1966 to 1974. And during his tenure as president, he published almost 300 books in Kannada authored by different scholars. Hampana has delivered guest lectures on Jain studies at universities in UK, Germany, USA. He has delivered multiple talks on linguistics, poetics, Jain literature at Bangalore, Mysore, and various universities across India. As Nitin said, that Jain Muni Sangh has an acharya, owing to his vast knowledge in different aspects of Jain history, heritage, philosophy, Prakrit. Many international Jain scholars have bestowed him with the title of acharya, and many Jain scholars in the literary circles call him as Acharya Hampana. So for today's inaugural lecture, Kurikyal's Jin Vallabha inscription, we invite Nadoja Dr. Hampana Nagarajaya. A request to everyone, if you have any questions about the subject, please type in your questions along with your contact or email ID. We will connect back with you with an answer as time permits. We will not be taking questions in this session, but we'll be answering all of them over a period of time. Thank you for your understanding. Over to you, Hampana. Nitin, can you project the slides? You are on mute, uncle. Uncle, you are on mute.
Sir, we cannot hear you. You are still on mute. You have to unmute yourself, sir.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Huh?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you, sir. Perfect, sir.
Shall I continue?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Uh, my respects to all those who have participated in this significant event of greater importance. Particularly, just now we heard our Alok Tripathi ji, and he has enlightened us and he has inspired us, and he has also thrown light on the shed light on the responsibility that we have got to shoulder and discharge properly and take up the work. And then Nitin, I'm rather his father and Nitin are very close to me in the sense I had the opportunity of observing how step by step they have built this Jaina heritage. Well, I have been one of the part and parcel of the Jaina heritage, and then now Nitin has given me an opportunity of delivering the first lecture, the festival lecture, Jaina Heritage Festival lecture. I'm delighted. I feel it a great honor extended to me. Well, um, the contribution of Jains to South India is enormous, and particularly the contribution of Jain acharyas, Jain philosophers, Jain poets to Kannada literature, to Tamil literature is immense. It has been marginalized, unfortunately, but some of us, we have been trying since last 60 years, 6 decades, to focus on the importance of Jaina literature in particular, because I am basically a writer. I am basically a research scholar. So I was trained under great masters, my teachers. Whatever I am today, I owe much of it to my parents and to my teacher. Well, I had the opportunity of studying, apart from Kannada, Sanskrit and Prakrit, and English literature in particular. So Jains in particular have laid a very strong foundation for Kannada literature. Commencing from 3rd and 4th century onwards, the contribution of Jains to Kannada literature is such that if we take away the contribution of Jains from the total Kannada literature, the corpus of Kannada literature, what remains is almost zero. So we can imagine what extent the Jains have contributed. The earliest texts that are extant in Kannada language are the Jain texts. One is a work on poetics, and the other one is a collection of short stories. They are the two earliest extant works in Kannada literature. The first work is Kaviraja Marga. Kaviraja Marga, authored by Sri Vijaya, whose patron was none other than Amogavarsha Nripatunga, one of the greatest emperors of the Rashtrakuta dynasty. You know, the Rashtrakuta dynasty ruled for over 200 years. It was an imperial dynasty from 6th century to 8th, 9th century in particular. They were the important rulers in South India. And the greatest emperor of that Rashtrakuta dynasty was Amogavarsha Nripatunga. He was educated in the Jaina ashrama. Janasenacharya was his student, was his teacher. And then Janasenacharya, well, and his disciple Gunabhadracharya, both of them, they were the royal teachers of the Rashtrakuta dynasty, Rashtrakuta palace people. They had the close association with the Jaina ashram. And then Rashtrakuta Emperor Amoghosha Nripatunga himself was a writer. His Prashnottara Ratna Malika, the jewel garland, you see, of the question and answer, it is very famous. And then Jinsenacharya also wrote Adi Purana, he started to write the Mahapurana in Sanskrit, but he could author only the first part of it called as the Puru Purana, which is also more popular as Adi Purana. That inspired the first poet, the Adi Kavi of Kannada literature, Pampa, to write Adi Purana. Pampa has written two great classics. Pampa is the greatest of Kannada literature, and also he can be equated with the Vyasa, Valmiki, Milton, and other great poets of other countries, you see, who have written great epics in other languages. And Pampa's contribution is so much that he was born in the year 902, and possibly he passed away very early. He had a premature death, and possibly he passed away in 945. But during that period, he studied in Jaina ashramas and visited several important pilgrim centers. And his teacher was Devendra Muni. Devendra Muni, the monk Devendra, was the teacher not only for Pampa and other great writers, he was the teacher of the Rashtrakuta kings, in particular the Indra. So Pampa's brother was Jinavallabha. Pampa was the Adikavi, the primal poet for Kannada literature, whereas his brother Jinavallabha was the first primal Adikavi of Telugu language. This is very important, and we should take note of it. And that two brothers, one elder brother was the Adikavi of one language, Kannada language in the south, and his younger brother Jinavallabha was the Adikavi for another language, southern India, that is Telugu, one of the Dravidian languages. You know, there are more than 25 Dravidian languages like Kannada, Telugu, Tamil, Malayalam, Vallari, Gaddava, Kuvi, Pengulu, so many languages. But the most important languages with cultural background and literary texts available are Kannada, Telugu, and the Tamil, to an extent Malayalam. So for Tamil, the earliest poets were Jain. Now, in Tamil, that Shilapadigaram is the epic, first epic. It was written by a Jaina poet, Ilango Adigal, in the 6th century. Similarly, coming to Kannada language and literature, all the earliest poets are Jains. Nearly for 600 years, from 6th century to 12th century, almost all, without no exception, they were Jains, and their contribution to Kannada literature in various branches of knowledge, in grammar, in poetics, and other allied disciplines, the contribution of Jains is immense, as I told earlier. So, taking up the
We're not hearing.
it should not happen. Well, I was speaking about that contribution of Jains to Kannada literature. The earliest two texts I referred only to Sri Vidya's work, Kaviraja Marga. The source of Kaviraja Marga was Sanskrit two poetics works, Lakshana Shastra Granthas, that is Dandi's Kavya Darsha and Bamahasa Kavya Alankara. Based on those two works, Kaviraja Marga was authored by Sri Vijaya, and Sri Vijaya was the first poet laureate of in the tradition in the Kannada literature. You see, one very extraordinary point is that most of the Kavi Chakravartis who were the poet laureates were Jains, and among them the first was Ponna, and then Ranna, and then Janna. I will be taking up those points if the time permits. But before that, I have so many things to speak about Jinavallabha's inscription of greater importance. Well, Jinavallabha's, before that, I was referring to that Sri Vijaya's. Sri Vijaya wrote Kaviraja Marga, and his patron was that Nripatunga, the emperor of the Rashtrakutas. And then Sri Vijaya also wrote two other works which are lost. We have no access to those two works. It was Chandraprabha Purana, the first Jaina Purana written in Kannada, in South India for that matter, was by Sri Vijaya. It was on Chandraprabha Tirthankara. The second work, it was Adi work of greater importance, and it was an Agama text. Whereas the Laukika text also was written by Sri Vijaya, and the title of that was Pandava Purana. He laid a strong foundation for writing two important works, one on the Laukika and the other on Agamika and religious work. And subsequently, it is Pampa who wrote two works. One is Adipurana based on Jinsenacharya's Adipurana. The other one is Vikramarjanya based on the Vyasa Bharata in Sanskrit. Vyasa Bharata, it is in a very, very huge classic. It was an epic containing 1 lakh verses. Whereas it was an abridged version that was prepared and written by Pampa, which contains 1,600 verses plus prose. So, to abridge a greater work of greater dimension of 1 lakh verses to 1,600 verses, it shows the pratibha, intuition, capacity of Pampa, the first poet. Similarly, his younger brother, Jinnavallabha, who both of them, they stayed in the neighboring state of Karnataka in Andhra. They were born and brought up in Karnataka, but later, because they were patronized by the Arikesari, one of the kings of the Vemulamada Chalukya dynasty, which was a feudatory of the Rashtrakutas. Therefore, they were very proficient in both the languages, in Kannada and in Telugu. Apart from that, the traditional education was there for both of them, that they studied Sanskrit and also Prakrit. Jinavallabha, after the death of his brother, well, in the Karimnagar district, there is a huge hill, very big hill, bigger than the Shravanabelgala's bigger hill, which was called as the Rishabhachala. Our Nitin is going to show he has very important. Our Nitin is very dynamic. His devotion to Kannada language, Jainism, and he is devoted to the propagation of Jaina culture, Jaina history, Jaina inscriptions. We should be very grateful and we should encourage him. He was trained, of course, by his father, Parshvanath, who was doctor by profession, but he was highly educated person and he wrote important books also. He did field work to collect the vestiges of Jaina culture, and that's a different thing. Well, the Nitin is a worthy son of a worthy father in the footsteps of their father. And since last 20 years, he has built the Jaina heritage like anything, you see. And his delivery is so good. Because of my age, 86 years now, my health is good, but my memory and the expression, the fluency that I had, it's gradually deteriorating, but I am glad our Nitin has picked up like anything, and his delivery is also good, his presentation is good, so Jaina Heritage, they are doing good work, and they have, Nitin, a week back, he requested me that I should speak on one of the important inscriptions. Therefore, in particular, he requested first to speak on the Manastambhas, the characteristic Jaina pillar of eminence, on which I have written a monograph and which was dedicated to our great Dakiji, who is no more because one of our great scholars, we have lost him. So then I felt I should speak on the inscription written by Jinavallabha. Why did I select that? What is the significance? the significance is that this is one of the rare inscriptions written in three languages. Jainavallabha has written that inscription. It is on the hill of Vrishabhagiri, which we are shortly going to see that. He has clippings. Nitin has prepared that with a lot of interest and that inscription is a long inscription now, as long as 12 feet long, and it has nearly 12 sentences, very big sentences, because I and my wife visited that place some 25 years ago. Uh, well, the Vrishabhagiri, it has several different names, and that Vrishabhagiri, on the top of it, the inscription, well, that is the hill, not easy to climb that. The steps, well, it is the Vrishabhagiri. It is in Kurkyala district in Andhra, Telugu country, and in the taluk of Gangadhara Talukam, and it is very near the village called Kurkyala. The inscription, since it belonged to Gangadharam Mandala, earlier when it was discovered by Venkataramana, it was popular. The inscription became popular as the Gangadharam inscription. Later, the nearby village people, they approached the archaeological survey people and they requested, no, it should be named after our village because the inscription is very near to our village, and you should not take away the credit to and give it to some other bigger town. Therefore, now the inscription is popular as the Kurkyala inscription. It is in three languages, in Kannada, in Sanskrit, and in Telugu. The character, it is written in Kannada characters. That is another thing, and the steps are so deep. So we should be very careful to climb the hill. Otherwise, we may slip. Therefore, that is one of the reasons why the inscription is preserved properly even today. It is not damaged. It is as fresh as it was written 1,000 years ago. And possibly, now we can see the sculptures, sculptural details are there. We are in the center is the sculpture of Janashasana Devi, the Yakshi of Adi Tirthankara, Chakreshwari. This is the biggest sculpture in India. No other sculpture of Chakreshwari is as big as this. And in the flank, the Chakreshwari is flanked by the Jinabimbas, and above are two sculptures of Tirthankaras. One is Adi Tirthankara, and the other one is the Antya Tirthankara, Mahavira Tirthankara, Vardhamana Mahavira. Well, I will, since the inscription is written in Kannada character and it is in three languages, last week I sat down and went through the inscription and I have translated to English. I will read out the inscription. It's very important, and the inscription gives details about the family members of Jina Vallabha and his elder brother Pampa, the Adikavi of Kannada literature. And Kannada literature, Pampa's work, it inspired Telugu writer, one of the greatest poets of Telugu literature, Nannaya Bhatta, who wrote on the Adiparva Mahabharata. See, Mahabharata story is popular in Andhra, whereas in Tamil Nadu, Ramayana is popular. In Karnataka, both Ramayana and the Bharata are popular thanks to Jaina poets. The first Ramayana written in Kannada was by a Kannada poet. The first Mahabharata written in Kannada is by Kannada poet Pampa. Therefore, the earliest cultivation of Kannada language and literature was done by Jaina writers. Well, the inscription starts with the Om Namah Siddhebhyaha. That is obeisance to Siddhas. Siddhas are, this is the inscription we are seeing now. The inscription is there. Uh, well, it is the length of it is about 12 feet and there are 12 lines. The last line is short. All the other lines are bigger and the characters are also easy to read on eye copy. One whoever is expert in deciphering the inscriptions and reading the inscription, he can make an eye copy very easily. Well, Om Namah Siddhebhyaha, and then Swasti is the second word in the inscription. Swasti means auspicious. And then the beginning lines are in the prose. And it gives the details of the family of Jinavallabha, his parents, that is his father and mother, his grandparents, his grandfather, and to which the sect they belong to, and all that. Uh, Before proceeding with the inscriptional details, I should also bring to the notice of the listeners who are listening to me that Jinavallabha's parents, forefathers, they were Brahmins. But Jinavallabha's father, Bhimapaya, he was influenced by Jainism and he was converted to Jainism. And Pampa has given that details, and he says in one of his Rutta verse that Jatiyolellam Uttamada Jatiya Viprakulange Nambale Mato Dwaradharmam Jaina Dharmam Endu Tad Jatiyan Uttarottarame Madi Negalchidam. He says that of all the castes, the highest caste is Brahmanism. But of all the dharmas, the royal dharma is Jaina Dharma. Considering this, contemplating on this, knowing the importance of Jaina Dharma, the father of Pampa and Jinavallabha, Bhimapaya, he converted himself to Jainism. And after he accepted Jainism as his religion and gave Brahmanism, Pampa, before that he was born, but after the conversion, Jinavallabha was born. Therefore, his name has become Jinavallabha, a typical Jaina name. But Pampa is not a typical Jainism, though some have derived it from Padmapa and all that, Padma Prabha, then become Padmapa and that become Pampapa. No, no. It is all cock and bull stories. Actually, Pampa is the river flowing in that region where his forefathers were brought up and named after the Pampa river, and also Pampa Virupaksha that is there. So Pampa was named as because of those religious and environmental reasons, because of the river flowing in that region. So coming to back to this translation of the inscription that I have done, and Jinavallabha speaks about himself in the beginning that he is skilled in all branches of knowledge. That Sakalakala Praveenam, he says. And then he is very, very generous. And among those who, by following the right faith, are eligible to attain liberation from the cycle of birth, he was Samyaktva Ratnakara. He was Gunapakshapati. See, with all adjectives, he describes himself in the very beginning, and in the prose lines, he is explaining the pedigree of a big family, the family tree. He gives a vivid picture of a family tree, that a person who shows partiality to virtues, that is, he is Gunapakshapati. And then he belonged to the Kamme Brahmin caste, Kamme Brahmana caste they belonged originally before conversion. And then his natal place was Vengipolu in the group of 7 villages. He was son of Bhimapaya, who was grandson of Abhimana Chandra of Nidungonde in Gundikarra province. First, he explains a bigger region and then particular province, come to the biggest city in that area, and then a nearby village. He was born and brought up in that area, and then Abhimana Chandranam Marman. He was the Pampa and Jinavallabha were the grandson of Abhimana Chandra, and Bhimapaya was the son of Abhimana Chandra. And then Gundikarra province, who belonged to Srivatsa Gotra and Jamadagni Pancharsheya. They were the Srivatsa Gotra, Gotra also too, because they were basically Brahmins, and Srivatsa Gotra and the Pancharsheya, Jamadagni, and all those, that's of the Brahminical tradition. And then after conversion, his mother, Abbanabbe, that is wife of Bhimapaya and mother of both Pampa and Jinavallabha, was granddaughter of Joyisa Singha, another Brahmin, who stayed in the Karnataka region. Is from the parental side, they belong to Andhra, Telugu country. From the mother's side, they belong to Karnataka region. See how the two regions they merged, and these two poets belong to the two countries of Andhra and Karnataka. And then he was a pupil, that Jinavallabha was a pupil of Jayanandi Siddhanta Bhattara. Pampa was direct student of Devendra Munindra, and then Pampa also studied and this Pandarapalli. See, Pandarapalli, now we read that it is the center for Vaishnava culture and Krishna tradition and all that. No, it also was a great seat of Jainism in the 8th, 9th, and 10th centuries. When the Rashtrakutas were ruling those areas, Jainism flourished in that particular region, and that is where Jainandi Siddhanta Bhattara's monastery, Jaina monastery was there. It was a great Jaina seat. And we come to know these details because of this inscription written by Jinavallabha. Jinavallabha, he was a talent personified. He had so many virtues and knowledge he possessed in different fields of discipline that we will know shortly. And then Anigere, and he was a pupil of Jayanandi Siddhanta Bhattara of Pandarangavalli, who belonged to Kondakunda Acharya's Anvaya, Desiga Gana, Pustaka Gacha. This is the line of preceptors. Kondakunda Anvaya was there. It was very famous, and Pustaka Gacha is equally famous. We come across these details in hundreds of Jaina inscriptions. In the South India, Jaina inscriptions are found in different parts of country, from north to south, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. But the highest number of Jaina inscriptions are found in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, and next to that in Andhra. There are about 30,000 inscriptions in Karnataka, out of which about 3,000 inscriptions belong to Jainism. Similarly, there are more than 35,000 inscriptions in Tamil Nadu in Tamil language, and about 1,000 inscriptions belong to Jainism. And in about 18 to 20,000 inscriptions found in Andhra, about 300 inscriptions belong to Jainism. So the highest number of inscriptions in Karnataka, Jainism, about 3,000 inscriptions. And recently, Hampi University has published the collection of all the Jaina inscriptions in 5 volumes. Devarakonda Reddy is the editor. I am also associated with that. And they had an excellent job of collecting the inscriptions, and it is being translated to Hindi. one Mr. Jodetti is translating all the inscription, giving the entire text from Kannada to Hindi, and it is also being translated to English in one volume. It will be ready shortly, and all these volumes Hampi University is publishing. We should be grateful to the Hampi University, and particularly to the state government of Karnataka, who liberally donated 1 crore rupees to the Department of Jainology in Hampi University. And thanks to our great Bhattarakji, so Sri Charukirti Bhattarakji, he is responsible for the government giving this grant of 1 crore rupees. And when it was sanctioned to the Jaina Math of Shravanabelgula, Charukirti Bhattarakji said, no, let the university take up the responsibility of preparing different editions and collecting all the Jaina inscriptions under the guidance of Devarkonda Reddy and others. Therefore, the amount was given to Hampi University, and they have done a good job. And then this inscription also included in that. And then Jinavallabha, he continues giving description of his parents and forefathers, and then what exactly his elder brother did, and how Jinavallabha continued the tradition established by his forefathers and his elder brother. And then Jinavallabha says that he commissioned the sculptures of their family deity, Sadyanta Jinabimbangalam. Sadyanta, that is Adi and Antya Jinabimba, he commissioned. We just now saw the above the sculpture of Chakreshwari, the two sculptures are of Adi Tirthankara and Mahavira, the first and the 24th, that is Adyanta Janabimbangalumam. And then Itara Janabimbangal, the other Janabimbas are also there. They are flanking the Chakreshwari sculpture on either side of it, three on one side, another three on one side. These are Peravum Janabimbangalumam. And then Chakreshwari Ekshi, other idols on the face of Siddhashile in the south of a very ancient Tirthankara. Dakshina Kuladaivam Adyanta Janabimbangalumam Chakreshwariumam Peravum Jinapratimegalumam Dakshina Bhagadod Nirmisidam Jinavallabham. And then he also constructed a temple called, he also, that is called Vrishabachala on the Vrishaba mountain on the front side of the Siddhashile, Dharmapuri, the Tribhuvana Tilaka Jinalaya. It was magnificent in the three worlds. Tribhuvana Tilaka. It was the best of the temples, Jaina temples in the three worlds. The exaggeration is there. And then Jinavallabha constructed the temple for the merit of his elder brother, Pampa, who had died by that time, because in the Vrishabachala, the mountain where the inscription is discovered, on the other side of the rock, there is another rock where the footprints as a souvenir are also chiseled like a lotus. That is the place perhaps where Pampa breathed is lost. Whether he observed Salekana or not, because some discussion is going on and the scholars have taken up and the debate is also there. Let us not go enter into the debates. And now coming to this point, the Jinavallabha constructed a tank, and the tank is named after the title of his brother as Kavita Gunarnava. Kavita Gunarnava. Yes, Pampa is a patron, Rikesari king, he had the title of Gunarnava, ocean of the virtues. And that king Arikesari gave another title to his poet in the Astana Pampa. He was an Astana Kavi of Arikesari. So Arikesari had a lot of liking for Pampa, and Pampa had similarly, he reciprocated the affection of his king, and he was kind to his king, and therefore he dedicated his work, Vikramarjuna Vijaya, making Pampa, poet Pampa, making his patron Arikesari as the hero of the uh, epic poem, and identifying him with the hero of the epic Arjuna. Arjuna is the hero, but his Arjuna was the mythological Arjuna and one of the brothers in the Pandava line. But Arikesari, the patron of Pampa, was very, very virtuous, and at the same time, he was very powerful. He was a feudatory of the Rashtrakutas, but not an ordinary feudator. It was an extraordinary feudatory, a vassal of the Rashtrakutas, where he dominated. He was brought up in the Rashtrakuta palace. Therefore, he had an easy access to the palace. And Arikesari, knowing all these historical background, he gave a title to his poet Asthana Kavi as Kavita Gunarnava. Arikesari himself was Gunarnava, but his poet was more. He is called as Kavita Gunarnava. Not only that, Arikesari had lot of regard for Pampa, and he gave him different diamonds, 9 varieties of the jewels. துடுக நிச்சலும் பஞ்சரத்னங்களும் பரமுடே தன் உடு உப்புட்டங்களும். This Kannada poem, Kannada verse explains that the patron Arikesari gave Pampa precious jewels. He gave Pampa very valuable cloths to wear every day. And this detail shows how Pampa and Arikesari, they had no distinction. They were very close friends. And when Pampa approached the palace where the king was sitting, and king immediately got up and offered him a seat by his side. That shows the respect that the king had for his poet. And then let us proceed with a description of the inscription, where the Jinavallabha says that he constructed a tank and named it in the title, with the title of his brother Pampa's Kavita Gunarnava. And then he also constructed a garden, a beautiful garden, which was named as Madana Vilasa, the delight of the love, God love, that is Cupid. And then, because Madana Vilasa shows it is a place of pleasure. Pampa was a Maharasika. And he says, Ananga Jangama Lata Lalitangiyarinda Malte Samsaram. This family, this samsara, this kutumba, he has the pleasure of the beautiful women. Though when they walk, it looks as though a creeper of the Manmata is walking, because the women are personification of beauty. And Pampa, while describing the beauty of women, his intuition and his pratibha, it becomes, it flourishes, it blossoms. And therefore, Jinavallabha named the tank as the Kavita. And then, Jinavallabha constructed a number of temples on the Vrishabachala, and monks also used to come and visit frequently for the illumination and for the lustration, the Abhisheka, Mahamastaka Abhisheka, which was going throughout the year season. So one of the verses in the Vruttas and it is in Sanskrit. And Jinavallabha was versatile in Sanskrit. Uh, He is equally at home when he writes in Kannada, when he writes in Sanskrit, when he writes in Telugu. So the Vrutta, he says, he describes, Bratar Dharmavuram Prayama Kimoto Jainendra Kshirabhishekotsav Plavita Tunga Shunga Vrishava Kshonidramikshamahe. Look at the language. It flows like a river. Brother, Dharmavuram Prayama. Brother, come, let us go to Dharmavura. And the brother asked him, why should we go there? What is important thing there? Kimoto, what is there to see? Jainendra Abhishekotsav Kshira Plavita Tunga Shunga Ikshamahe Vrishava Kshonidram. The whole hill, you see, and the Kshirabhisheka, the Abhisheka with milk, it has taken place, and the Abhisheka of milk, they poured on the images of Jinnah. It is so much, it is flowing like a river on the hill from top to bottom. Let us watch it. Let us enjoy. It is a sight for the gods to see, and we humans, we should go and participate in that auspicious event. Yatrayat Savasta Bhavya Janata Sanmana Danodyatam. And when the Abhisheka is going on, people are coming, monks are visiting, and Jinavallabha, what is he doing? He is welcoming all of them. He is honoring each one of them. He is paying well respect, pranams to the monks, and he is donating gifts to other Shravakas. And the Bhavya Jivas who are coming there and who are standing in the queue, he goes and meets each one of them, and he honoring each one of them with precious gifts. All these details are found in the beautiful inscription written in 3 languages. And then he also further says, I have translated, and I do not know how much time I am permitted to explain these details, which is of greater
You take your time,
significance.
sir. We are all here to hear you, sir. You take your time, sir.
I can take more time.
Yes, sir.
You permit me anything?
No, sir. I mean, we want you for, we can hear you for any number of
I will
hours, sir.
conclude. I will conclude.
No, no,
soon.
sir. Please, sir. Please continue, sir.
Yes, yes. And then to see the huge Vrishava Parvata immersed, that is drenched in the Kshirabhisheka, milk showered as part of a holy ritual bath. Besides, we can meet Jinavallabha, younger brother of respected poet Pampa and son of Bhimapaya. He is only a Samyaktva Ratnakara. Jinavallabha also had a number of titles, and he succeeded as the court poet of that Arikesari. This is very important. We should underline this. Pampa was a court poet of Arikesari. After the death of Pampa, elder brother of Jinavallabha, this younger brother Jinavallabha also he became the court poet and adorned the court of Arikesari, where his elder brother once adorned in that court, royal palace. And then Pampa Bhimapaya, he is a Samyaktva Ratnakara, a ocean that is the abode of right faith. He is busy in honoring continuously arriving Jaina pilgrims and satisfying them with, and also with precious, valuable gifts. Jinavallabha, younger brother of Pampa, is well versed in delightfully singing charming songs of varied variety. Geetam Gatam. He used to sing melodiously. He was a singer. Look at the talents that he possessed. Jinavallabha possessed a number of talents that he could write verses, beautiful poems. He could also recite the poems, and he could sing the poems, whether it is prose or in poetry. he can read, and he had the title of Vachakavarana. Vachakavarana is, immediately we can remember that Vachaka Umaswati. They were talented people, the writers or scholars who were versed in reading. Reading beautifully is a gift. Everyone cannot read effectively. The audience should be thrilled by listening to the reading, and reading should communicate the whatever he is reading, the meaning and the summary should be communicated to the audience, and the reading should be in such a way that audience will be happy to listen to the reading of that particular vachaka, that particular. And in that art of reading powerfully, he should possess a good voice, a melodious voice, a powerful voice, which can reach thousands of people in the audience. All that Jinavallabha possessed. He had the gift of reading, gift of singing, and the voice was rich that it should reach the entire audience. The lost man could also hear his explanation. Chief of monks and householders, they kept arriving uninterrupted. Ajasramuni Jinnavandanagatam. In Sanskrit, another Champakamala verse, he has given further details of how monks from different places of country, from north, from south, from east and west and different parts, and because it was famous, that Vrishabachala, where Janavallabha had constructed temples, where the sculpture of Yakshi, Yakshini and other Jinabimbas are there, and it became so famous that the news spread to the different corners of country, and people used to make journey, a pilgrimage to that place and make frequent visits and take the darshana. All those details that this inscription gives, it is very important. Not only for Jains, it has the historical significance because it gives the details of the Chalukya Vamsha, the Vemaluvada Chalukyas, about the capital and the big cities around that capital, and other natural beauty, and the different villages that flourished during that time as the centers of the Jaina seats and also of the Brahmins, the Agraharas. Every minute detail, Jinavallabha very accurately, like a geography expert, and the landscape also details he gives. That is, it is like a postal address he gives. Easily people can enter that place without consulting others. And then Vrishabha Parvata hill became an abode of Digambara monks. Digambara monks. The hectic activities of devotees perpetually proclaim the fame of Vachakavarana, an ornament of recitation that is excellent to recite as Jinavallabha till the end of Champakamala Vrutta. It is impossible even to think, and who will imagine this idea? In fact, this place is not within the reach of human effort to get sculptures chiseled on the face of such a huge boulder. It was so difficult to climb the hill, but beautiful images have been carved. How could this could be achieved? Because Jinavallabha, the dedicated person, you see, he got the expert sculptors and got chiseled all these details. So people appreciated, who were observing from a distant place, they were appreciating the achievement made, how Jinavallabha could accomplish such an impossible thing. He made it possible. And then when people were still engaged in a discussion, lo, Jina images suddenly appeared. Jinavallabha's achievement is a wonder. Earlier, The hill was a dwelling place of great Brahmanas. It was an agrahara. Jinavallabha decided, let this hill be an image of Kavita Gunarnama, that is his elder brother, poet Pampa's fame, and let it glow as southern Vrishabachala. In the northern Vrishabachala is there, that Bharata Chakravarti visited, and the inscription was engraved and all that. We read from the Adi Purana of Jinsenacharya and Pampa. So that is northern Vrishabachala. In the south, this is the Vrishabachala, where Jinavallabha constructed temples, where he wrote this inscription, where the sculptures even today are there. Kavita Gunarnava's fame, and let it glow as southern Vrishabhadri with the image of Lord Vrishabhanatha, and converted it into a Jaina Chaityalaya, Jaina shrine, and became a far superior hill. It is no surprise for Jinavallabha to shine as the best of Jains. Jinavallabha, well, he was serving the monks with food, ahar dana. He did Shastra Dana. He gave medicine Vaishadya Dana, Shastra Dana, Ahara Dana, Abhaya Dana. All the Chaturveda Danas, Jinavallabha observed like a typical Jaina Shravaka. He was an ideal Jaina householder, and people respected him during his lifetime, Jinavallabha, because he possessed a number of talents, as I said earlier. And then he wrote in Telugu also. The earliest Telugu verses were written by Jinavallabha, a Jaina poet. And 100 years earlier to the greatest Telugu poet, he, Pampa, so younger brother Jinavallabha, he thrived in three languages and wrote the inscriptions in three languages. And in the conclusion, he has written three beautiful Telugu verses. In one of the Telugu verses, he says, Jinapujalu Chayesum. I will read out the Telugu Kanda Padya. This is the earliest Telugu Padya, which made him the first poet in Telugu language. Adi Kavi of Telugu literature is Jinavallabha. Adi Kavi of Kanda literature is his elder brother Pampa. And his Telugu Kandapadya says, there are three, I will just read out one. It's very important because it speaks about the achievement of Jinavallabha, what he did to Telugu country, what he did to Jaina Dharma, how he increased the glory of his family tradition pedigree. Jinapujal Sayachunni, Jinabavalambulam Yetunchutam, జినములకు నచ్చిన అన్నదానంబులు ఇవుటం జినవల్లభంబుల్ గలరే. And the verse says, he constructed Jaina temples, he gave aharadana to Jaina monks, and then number of Jaina worships taking place throughout the year, that was made possible because of the dedication of Jinavallabha to his faith, to his dharma, to his Jina Mata, Jina Dharma. And then there are none who can excel in these activities that enriched the glory of Jina Dharma. That is what the gist of this Telugu Kandapadya. So to sum up, what are the achievements of this particular inscription? We can sum up like this. This is the earliest inscription in Telugu language, which has literary merit, literary importance, because it is a piece of poetry. It is a Khandakavya, because Vruttas are there, different Vruttas, Champakamala Vrutta, Prithvi Vrutta, Shardula Vrutta, and Kandapadyas, Gadya, prose, and Telugu verses. Therefore, this inscription of Jinavallabha, it is a Khandakavya, and the first Khandakavya in Telugu language, and therefore it is befitting that Jinavallabha is called as the Adikavi of Telugu literature. And then he is an ideal brother. Look at the affection, look at the respect that he has to his elder brother. This is how brothers should live amicably. This is the living example. Both of them are talented. Both of them are born in a rich family of, it's an educated family, devoted, loyal to the king, but very affectionate to the people around them, whether they are Brahmins or Jains or otherwise. And then they associated with the area. Jains, the speciality of them is to whichever place they belong to, they become part and parcel of the mainstream of that area. They will not create trouble. They take up the language of the place and be very affectionate to other, cordial to other religions. That is the quality, and that is the message of Jina. Jiyat Shasanam, Jina Shasanam, it's very important, which we know. But apart from that, live and let live is the message. Parasparopagraho Jivanam is the cream, the message of Umaswati. Similarly, Jivo Jivasya Jivitam. We should live, but we should also allow others to live. So Jinavallabha lived and made the people around him happy, and Jinavallabha had the respect from all corners and different parts of the Telugu country and the neighboring state of Karnataka. And he was loyal to his king. In some of the Sanskrit verses, he has given a beautiful description of Arikesari. Vinuta Chalukyavam Shapati Karikesari Sanda Vikramarja. So I have not given those details for see. I cannot extend my lecture for minutes together because other people, our respected R.P. Jain is Sahul, R.P. Jain is there. I'm eager to listen to Jain's words also. Therefore, um, both brothers, Pampa and Jinavallabha, they enjoyed the royal patronage. And then the wife of Jinavallabha, it is her name is not mentioned in the inscription. One lacuna of that inscription is that Jinavallabha's wife was also equally important and dedicated to Jainism and did some service to the community in the sense she was, her name was Bhagiyabbe. Jinavallabha's wife was Bhagiyabbe, and she was born in north area, and then he was Patan, Pratishthanapura. She was born there where Satavahana kings were ruling. From that area, Patan, Pratishthanapura to Annigiri, where Jinavallabha's mother was born. That area, if we consider the distance, it covers a long distance of about 1,000 kilometers. So Pampa's fame, Jinavallabha's fame spread far and wide. And then Jinavallabha's wife Bhagiyabbe, she constructed 2 temples and dedicated to Mahavira. And even today, we have discovered 2 bronze images that was dedicated to that temple, gifted to that temple by Bhagiyabbe. It is Mahavira's sculpture, and it is in bronze, and it is, one is preserved in Chennai's museum, Tamil Nadu Museum, even today. It was prepared in the year 950, and it was commissioned by Jinavallabha's wife Bhagiyabbe, and the other sculpture also of Mahavira It is about 1 feet long. It is preserved in Kolkata's Nahar's Museum. And on the backside of the Mahavira's image, Kannada inscription is also there, giving the details that Jinavallabha's wife, Bhagiyabbe, constructed a temple dedicated to Mahavira. So look at the historical details that we are available. We have an access to the family of Pampa, from commencing from his forefathers to his younger brother and his younger brother's wife. And then that social service, not only for the community, even social service, constructing a tank, it is helpful for the local people. And constructing a garden, helpful to the local people. So these are the details that we have an access to the Jinavallabha's inscription. Therefore, considering all these aspects, I thought this inscription should be highlighted and I should speak about the importance and the historical significance of this inscription. I'm very happy that I have been given an opportunity to speak of one of the important inscriptions and also speak on the auspicious occasion of the Jaina Heritage Festival, which our um, Nitin, a devoted, talented youngster, has taken up the work and he is doing excellent work. I'm happy and the entire community is very happy. We wish him all the best. Thank you very much for listening and sparing your precious time to hear me. Jiyat Shasanam Jina Shasanam. Let the message of Jinas be victorious.
Thank you, Ampana, for the great insights about Kannada literature. I think we should say that it was an eye opener, especially the connection of different dots, connecting one story with the other story. That is, I think, only you can do. No one can do it better than you. So we learned a lot of things from Kurikyal's inscription, and thank you for your effort in translating it for our benefit, uh, considering our limited knowledge in different languages, and detailing out the value it holds. Heritage was the most important aspect of today's lecture, because unless we know that how much value it holds, how it connects to our either it is lineage from Kundakundacharya, or it is current story, or the temples which are present even today, or the inscriptions or the statues which are preserved at various parts of the country. I think it helps us, and the young generation, it helps us to connect and understand that how valuable our heritage is, and how we can understand and create stories and learn from those stories. And it is not only religion, it is also about society, helping the society overall. So thank you for the great insights into this inscription. Going ahead with the program, I would like to invite Nitin for the vote of thanks.
Jai Jinendra, everyone. I think it was such an enlightening lecture by Professor Hampana sir. I think before I start my vote of thanks, the one thing I wanted to emphasize upon, what I always keep telling, each and every, that is the whole intent behind this particular lecture series, or whatever you want to call it. In this Jain Heritage Festival, what we're trying to achieve, see, just one single inscription with just 11 languages, 11 lines rather, in 3 different languages, it gives you so much of insights, so much of history, heritage, and the kind of what Jainism existed in those period in the region, and the kind of rituals that were followed, the different names, the colloquial terms that were used. I think all this are eye openers to us, and that too, very important. One inscription, 11 lines, 3 languages, gives us details about 2 Adikavis, 2 great Jaina Adikavis in 2 different languages. And there is one very popular saying among literary circles in Karnataka, for many who haven't heard, Pampaninda Hampanavareге, they say. From Pampa to Hampa. That is our Hampana sir. I mean, thanks to his erudite knowledge, the fluency he has in multiple languages, the way he even spoke this some Sanskrit lines, even the Telugu lines, I think that is why they have coined the term Pampa to Hampa. I think that is where it is. I think he is our, I keep repeating always, that is why they have given him that, bestowed him with that title of Acharya, is what I feel. I think it was as much enlightening as listening to any of our great revered Jaina Acharyas, is what I felt. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Hampana, sir. I think it's a blessing for us. This particular lecture and all your lectures that we have with ourselves will remain as a record for centuries to come, for decades and centuries to come, to the upcoming generations. They will understand what it is by a person who knew about about 3 different languages, who could speak so fluently. Thank you so much, sir, for being over here. Thank you for guiding us over the past 2 decades, and we always look forward to your guidance and anything. And we are all kids in front of you. Many times I keep telling our group, our age is much lesser than your experience. So we are just kids who have just opened our eyes in the field of Jainism, just trying to do something. Even if we are able to be a bindu in the vast ocean of Jainism and in the world, our lives are, and our attempt is sarthak, is what I would say. With that, I would again thank you, sir, for this enlightening lecture. And then Professor Alok Tripathi, sir, like when Gaurav was reading out his profile, and even when I got Alok Tripathi sir's profile, I was so much impressed to look at this. And we have been reading a lot of his works on marine archaeology, and again, the way he spoke, the way he gave us the thoughts about, rather than calling it as Jainism, rather than a ism, it's a dharma, it's a way of life, is what he meant. I think these are all new thoughts that are coming out. One, what we heard from Hampana sir, and the other way, like how we should look at things. Like we always see about Anekanta Vada in Jainism, different ways of looking at things, multifacetedness. I think that is something, this is another, Alok Tripathi sir has opened our eyes about how we should look at it, how we should look at our own religion, rather than accepting terminologies that have been coined by someone else. I mean, for a matter of fact, the simple term I would like to quote here is, we see about Basadi or Mandira or Mandir. But many of them say, even Hampana sir, being a linguist as well, will agree with us, the actual terminology temple might not be an exact translation of what it means. So this is always a constant journey, constant deliberation that should happen, where we are able to come up with very new terms, new terminologies, new interpretations, and new inferences, which help us lead the way forward towards contribute towards the way forward towards Jain, preserving and taking Jain history, heritage, and archaeology to the future generations. Thank you so much, sir, for pricking our minds and enlightening us, sir. Thank you, Alok Tripathi, sir. And along with that, I should also say, we were not able to start with this, have Alok Tripathi, sir, without RP Jain uncle. And RP Jain uncle also delivered his welcome address. Because of his ill health, he could not deliver much. But however, he is the man behind many things. I call him as a panoramic Jain, who has traveled 19 countries of the world when internet had not come, and had given lectures about Jainism and had brought about awareness about Jainism. It's a blessing to have him here and have his guidance. And he's a purely strategist who sleeps, breathes, and eats Jainism, is what I feel. Thank you so much, RP uncle, for all your guidance and delivering the inaugural welcome note. And Gaurav Bhai, I don't know what to say about him. Look at his simplicity. He works as a vice president in one of the intellectual property companies. And along with that, he also has studied in depth about Jainology, and he'll be awarded very soon a gold medal in MA Jainology from the Jain Vishwa Bharati Ladnu. And we have such a learned young friend Gaurav, who's been there with me over our journey over the past almost 1.5 decades, 15 to 17 years. Thank you, Gauravji, for being always with us in the background and being very candid, very critical in terms of your feedbacks. When I coined the term Jain Heritage Festival, I wanted to call in Hindi as Jain Parampara Utsav, in Kannada as Jain Parampare Habba. He said, no, let's have Jain Heritage Festival, let it get branded. Let's bank upon it to push the Jain content. So that was his brainchild, to use the same terminology across all. And he's been there in the background many a times in our group. And along with that, we have Yogesh. Anytime I look up to him for any sort of guidance with the technical aspects or anything else, in spite of all his busy schedule, he's always there with us. Ajit Prasad uncle, we have him with us. Any time I call him, even at night, 10 or 11 in the night, peacefully he listens to me and he gives me his inputs. And we have many people, like say for example, we have Jaychandra uncle, who is always like in the background. He always tells us, you should do this. This is a better way to do this. I mean, like all these people, all the elders, they treat us as one among themselves, one of their family members. And along with that, we have Prasann Kumar uncle. You will hear him very soon. You will hear about his 45 years or 50 years of Jain heritage conservation journey in the Jain heritage conservation theme. What were the challenges he faced? He's even to this day, looking at his age, he's around 82 years. Even then, he's at the background to get many of the speakers, to get many of the Jain heritage work. Then he's also been there at the forefront to support us. Then we have our volunteers with us. We have Dheeraj, who always is on the forefront to call me and tell me, give critical comments, even about a full stop or a comma or a separator we give. And even we have many other people. We have Usharani madam, we have Mahavir sir, and also we have Brahmanand Shipre, who is not with us due to some inevitabilities. We have Pramod, who is always there to support us in terms of the technical aspects. And we have Jodati sir. Hampana sir did mention about the Jaina inscriptional work getting translated to Hindi. And we have the learned Jodati sir. And we have had the pleasure of having Nemu Chandaria sir over here. He's not in India, at London, where many people just survive to have their living. He's established a pioneering name in the field of Jainology, that is through Institute of Jainology, and he's done tremendous work. And we have Sulek uncle. We'll hear out from Sulek uncle the tremendous work he's done over the past 40 years in 40 different universities. So we have a lot of these people who are there, who have come over here, and I'm unable to mention some of the names. My apologies in case if I have missed out anyone. That is purely unintentional. Along with that, I will fail in my duties if I don't thank my parents, Dr. H.A. Parshvanath and my mother Jayanti. It's because of them that whatever we are here with Jain Heritage Centers. Thank you to both of them. Then we have KP Sudhadevi auntie, who is always there with us for anything, who is always guiding us, who always pats our back. And whenever I say, auntie, we need your support with any of the invocation or any of the discussions in terms of Jaina philosophical aspect, she's always there with us. I would like to thank each one of them, and I would like to look up to all your guidance, blessings, and support as we move ahead. It is not, Jain Heritage Centers is not Nitin's baby, or not the Nitin and family or Parshvanath and families. It's the Jain communities thing. We are just a nimitta. Like I mentioned, even if we are able to be a bindu or a dot in the vast ocean, I think then our intent is solved, is what I feel. Thank you once again for each one of you for being over here. Let's continue to do the same, have the same set of gatherings. Please feel free to forward the invites to as many people as possible, and we will gather over here. We will have the discussions for the next 20 sessions. Let's hear another 40 odd lectures. At the end, we plan to bring it out in the form of a book with an ISBN number. The moment we do that, it becomes a documental work, monumental work. Now we look up to BL Rice's work, we look up to KL Narasimhachar's work, or we look up to PB Desai sir's work. Why? Because they are available. But the moment we have ISBN, it becomes a big work, monumental work. Please support us. Thank you all for all your support. And along with this, like I mentioned just before we conclude, one last thing which I wanted to add here. Every Saturday, Sunday, we will try to have this lecture. Maybe 1 or 2 Saturdays we might not have, but we will have every Saturday, Sunday up to July 31st, where we will have at least 2 people speak, 1 hour each, around 45 to 50, 55 minutes they will speak. The language will be clearly mentioned in the poster that we send out. It will be either in Kannada or English or Hindi, and it will continue for up to 10 weeks. That will be the end of Jain Heritage Festival, but the journey will still continue even after that. This is just the beginning, is what I feel. And the next upcoming event is on the 28th of May, that is a Saturday. We have Renuka Porwal madam, who will speak about Indus Valley civilization and Jainism, Sindhu Nagarikate Muttu Jaina Dharma. And we have our young researcher, Shubha Majumdar, who has done a tremendous work in Eastern India in terms of research of Jainism, who holds a PhD for his research on Jainism in Bengal. He'll speak about the topic, Antiquity of Jainism in Bihar. That will be the second session on Saturday. That will be followed by 2 more sessions on Sunday, and it will continue for up to 10 weeks. With this, I would like to conclude the vote of thanks. Gauravji, over to you.
Thank you, Nitin. I think all of us will agree that we are all here because of Nitin. His passion and dedication to Jain heritage is infectious, I should say, to elders as well as to youngsters. So thank you, Nitin. For the very first vote of thanks should go to you for thinking about this kind of session, for pushing all of us, for connecting all of us, for making it happen actually. So thank you to all the speakers and all the participants for the wonderful session today. We'll meet this Saturday and Sunday on Jaina Antiquity theme, as Nitin mentioned. So we'll roll out the program details very soon. And to close the session, I would like to invite Sudha Aunty for Shanti Mantra.
पूजिकानां प्रतिपालकानां यतीन्द्र सामान्य तपोधनानां देशस्य राष्ट्रस्य पुरस्य राज्ञा करोतु शान्तिं भगवान् जिनेन्द्र करोतु शान्तिं भगवान् जिनेन्द्र क्षेमं सर्वप्रजानां प्रभवतु बलवान् धार्मिको भूमिपाल काले काले च सुरुष्ट्रिवितरतु मघवा व्याधयो यान्तु नाशम् दुर्भिक्षं चोरमारीक्षणमपि जगतां मास्मभूर्जीवलोके जैनेन्द्रं धर्मचक्रं प्रभवतु सततं सर्वसौख्यप्रदायी प्रध्वस्तागातिकर्माणां केवलज्ञानभास्करः कुर्वन्तु जगता शान्तिं वृषभाद्य जिनेश्वरः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
Thank you everyone. Jai Jinendra.